So if you're in a moment where things are hard and where you're considering giving up, don't you dare. Don't you dare give up, because even if no one else is going to know, your future self is going to know. And your future self is either going to be grateful or they're going to be upset. The truth about doing something new is that it's hard. It's hard because you have to do a bunch of things that you suck at. And a lot of times you have to be willing to be really bad at something for quite some time before you start seeing results. It's hard because you might not know anyone who's done the thing that you're setting out to do, and you might feel isolated. It's hard because a lot of times you're going to have to be constantly picking between your past self and your future self. And every time that you choose your past self, you're going to be setting yourself back. It's hard because not everyone is going to agree with you. Not everyone is going to understand you. And oftentimes there will be two groups of people: the people that don't understand you but they're supportive, or the people who don't understand you and therefore they try to argue with you and they try to stop you. And you're going to have to know how to deal with both of those groups of people. Doing something new and doing something special and doing something out there and really following your purpose, it's hard because it's supposed to be hard. If it was easy, the world would look a lot different. If it was easy, everyone would be living their purpose. If it was easy, everyone would be accomplishing all of their goals. But the reason that it's hard is because it takes a certain kind of person to actually live a beautiful life. I was watching a YouTube video earlier today where the person was basically saying, like, aside from your basic necessities, you're not owed much of anything. I do think that we all should have food and a roof over our heads, and no one should be desolate. But beyond that, if you want your life to be really great, it's going to require you to change and to grow and to expand and to become an extraordinary person. You're going to have to become the best version of yourself, not just make a couple changes here and there, not just try something out for a week and then quit, but you're going to have to create a consistent habit of doing uncomfortable things. And not everyone is going to tell you that, and not everyone is going to actually push you in the direction that you need to go. You have to push yourself. You might be surrounded by people who are settling. You might be surrounded by people who are settling for a life that you're meant for more. You might know in your heart that you are supposed to go out and do extraordinary things and impact people and change the world, but you don't see anyone daring to dream nearly as big as you are. Or maybe you see people talking about how, oh yeah, it would be nice to change the world, or it would be nice to, do all of these extraordinary things, but they're not doing it. They're not taking any steps. And you can't let those people dictate the choices that you make. We have a new year coming up. Who are you going to be? Are you going to choose your future self, even if your future self doesn't fit in with your friends, even if your future self stands out among your family, even if your future self has to do a bunch of things that they're not good at so that they can get good at being the kind of person that they want to be? Or are you going to choose your past self who was scared to take risks, your past self who was scared to put themselves out there, your past self who was scared to really try? Because at the end of the day, the only one who is going to make this happen is you. The only one who is going to bring your vision to life is you. And so if you don't bring anything else into this next year, you're going to need to bring courage. You're going to need to bring tenacity. You're going to need to bring vision, and not just a vision that you put on a vision board and look at and feel inspired by, but you're going to need to bring a vision that pulls you to act, a vision that really motivates you, a vision that gets you out of bed and that causes you to make choices that are really different from the choices you've been making up until this point. Because until you get in the habit of being uncomfortable, and until you get in the habit of getting back up even after you fail, until you get into the habit of never giving up until you've actually accomplished what you've set out to do, you are going to stay stuck, and you will be sitting at the end of another year looking back and realizing that you didn't grow or change or expand nearly as much as you could have if you had just been willing to be your future self every time. Be your future self when it's hard. Be your future self when you're not seeing results. Be your future self when no one else is being their future self. Be your future self when people are still expecting you to show up in your old ways. Just do it. Just do the thing that your future self would do, and do that consistently, unconditionally, no matter what, and just see how your life changes. It does not get much harder than that. It really doesn't. And the truth is that's as hard as it needs to be, because that in and of itself is a huge project, and that in and of itself is so much to work towards and so much to aspire to. But I promise, if every single day you can get up, and this is what I do. When I'm still laying in bed, before I even get up, I ask myself, what would my higher self have already done by now? And then I just do those things. What would my higher self have already said yes to, and why am I not saying yes to those things? What is the risk that I'm scared to take that my higher self has already taken? What is the thing that my higher self has said no to and let go of that I'm still clinging to? And there can be all kinds of things. There could be relationships that are not aligned. There could be ways that you're spending your time that do not align with the life that you want. There could be ways that you're spending your money that do not actually amount to anything and that are not bringing you closer to your financial goals. There are so many things, and for every person this is different, but you need to get honest with yourself, and you need to get honest in a way that allows you to really see, like, what are the choices I'm making each and every day that allow me to either move forward or move backward. And when you have the option to move forward, you have to move forward. Over this past year, I went on the journey of learning how to run, and now I run 3 miles 3 times a week, every single week. Before that, I was literally afraid of running. I had like this whole story in my head because I had grown up having asthma and I felt like it was going to be super hard for me, and I had started and stopped trying to run for years. But this year I said, you know what, I'm actually going to do it. And there was a moment where I was in the middle of a jog, and it was not even a 3-mile jog. It was not even a 1-mile jog. I'm pretty sure this jog was probably like half a mile or even less than that. But I wasn't sure if I was going to finish, and I was negotiating with myself. And I remember thinking, well, maybe I'll just quit. Maybe I'll just give up. No one even knows I'm doing this. It doesn't really matter. And I had to catch myself, and I had to realize, no, your future self knows you're doing this, and your future self is either going to be grateful or is going to be bummed that you finished or you didn't finish. And this is not about other people anymore. This is just about you. This is about your life. This is about the story that God is telling through you right now. And either you're going to be the person that says a quick prayer and gets back on board and keeps going until the end and trusts God to let you finish this, which is ultimately where I got to, was like, God, I trust you to help me finish this, even though I literally have no idea how. And to think back on it, it's like now I run so much more than that, but in those days that was hard. And I felt like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to be able to finish this? And I had to pray about it, and God was right there with me, and I was able to get it done. But if I had let myself talk myself out of that little half-mile run, there's no way I would be running 10 miles a week now, or 9 miles a week, whatever I'm doing now. There's no way, because I had to be willing to choose my future self, even when no one was watching, even when no one knew, because I had to realize this is not about other people. This is not about anything but me and the person who I have decided to be. And if I start something, I'm going to finish it. And that's new for me. I'll just be honest. In my early 20s, it wasn't true that everything I started I was going to finish. And often that was because I started stuff that I had no business starting in the first place. I got into a lot of situations that my higher self would never step foot in because I had no sense of direction, because I was listening to everyone else and not really asking myself what I wanted, because I was chasing external validation, because I was trying to prove something. And all my decisions, not 100%, but a lot of my decisions are very misaligned. And what that taught me was, first of all, you have to live for you. You cannot put yourself in situations that do not serve you simply because you're trying to prove something to somebody else or to seek validation. But the second thing it taught me was that now that I am making choices in alignment with my highest self, now that I am signing myself up for things that actually matter to me and choosing to become the person that I have chosen to be in life, I have to finish what I start. If I start going on the journey to learn how to run a 5K, I am going to finish that thing until I can run a 5K very comfortably, and now I can run a 5K very comfortably. If I start going through the process of building a business, I'm going to build that business to the best of my ability, and that's what I've been doing with life coaching, right? If I'm going to start something, I'm going to finish it. And that is really the mindset that you have to have whenever you're starting on something new. Make sure that it's for you, make sure that it's aligned, make sure that you're starting what God has put it on your heart to do and not just doing something for clout or validation or whatever. Make sure it's aligned. And once you know what is in your heart to do, once you know what the aligned choice is, you start it and you finish it no matter how hard it gets, no matter how confusing it gets, no matter how frustrating it gets along the way. You have to finish. You have to finish no matter what. And if you keep this in mind, and if you keep doing what your higher self would do, and if you keep praying about it when things are hard instead of quitting and negotiating with yourself and letting yourself off the hook when things are hard, if you keep asking for help and leaning on God and letting God open the doors for you when you don't know how you're going to make something work, your life will be completely different a year from now. And I'm living proof. Like I said, I used to be really afraid of running. Now I comfortably run 10 miles every single week. I used to feel so discouraged and have no faith in my business whatsoever. In 2024, my business doubled. It did more than double what the business did in 2023. And that's because I chose to have confidence in my business, and I chose to take my business seriously, and I chose to show up and do what I felt called to do with my business rather than letting everyone dictate to me what my business and what my career and what my life should look like. I let myself lead myself, and I was able to double my business, right? These are things that I was able to do because I implemented the exact same principles that I'm teaching you right now. And so put these into practice. Let your life actually change. And once you get to the point where your life is really changing, it'll be a no-brainer. It'll be so easy to choose your higher self. It'll be so easy to keep going when things are hard. But if you're not there yet, you have to put in the work to actually get there. So if you're in a moment where things are hard and where you're considering giving up, don't you dare. Don't you dare give up, because even if no one else is going to know, your future self is going to know. And your future self is either going to be grateful or they're going to be upset. And if you want to upset your future self, that's on you, but I would never let my future self down like that. So I am going to keep showing up, and I hope that you'll join me. All right, I love you so much. I'll see you again very soon. Take care.